let us go across town for one of the bigger mysteries in the Big Ten, UCLA. So when last season ended, we assumed that Chip Kelly would be leading UCLA into the Big Ten, that he survived, because it looked like for a second there he might get fired toward the end of the season. But then Martin Jarman decides to keep him, and then he just leaves. And so now you have DeShaun Foster, who basically revamps the offensive staff. The defensive staff is going to be what it was after D'Anton Lynn left. So
yeah.
Ikeke Malloy was hired by Chip Kelly to be the DC. He's going to be the DC. He was promoted. He did a great job with Laitu Latu last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is this team? Like, Ethan Garbers is the QB. We know that.
Agreed. Right. You bring in Eric Bieniemy to run the show on offense as the new OC, but this UCLA roster has a lot of work to do, specifically on the defense, right? It's brutal. They lost a lot of bodies on that side of the ball, including starting safety Kamari Ramsey, right? Starting corner John Humphrey that we mentioned. They lose two great players in the Twins, Gabriel and Grayson Murphy. The leading tackler goes to the NFL and Darius Muasau. I just have a hard time thinking that kind of production on defense can be replaced in just 1 year. You know, they brought in a couple of guys from the portal that I like, in KJ Wallace from Georgia Tech, Khalid Achimpong from Miami, and Joseph Vaughn from Yale. But I'm not sure if this defense as a whole will be ready for the Big Ten in year one. I just don't see it. But to your point, there are some positives on offense, right? You get Ethan Garbers back at quarterback. Dante Moore transfers out. He solidifies the job. They just brought in Demarcus Davis, who is a 4-star signee to Washington that they got to raise the floor of the room. The two top pass catchers are back, and J. Michael Sturdivant and Logan Loya. TJ Harden's back. He ran for 800 yards last year. So the skill group is really solid. You bring back all 5 starters on the offensive line. I just think when you look at the schedule, Andy, it doesn't do them a lot of favors either.
No, they got to go to LSU. Like, USC opens with LSU at a neutral site. We didn't even talk about that with USC because I think we're just assuming LSU is going to beat them. But you go to LSU, then you got to play Oregon, then at Penn State. Like, you can get beaten down by this before you even have to fly across country to Rutgers.
Right. I mean, the biggest bright spot in this is that at least you don't get Ohio State or Michigan, but you do have tough road games against Nebraska, at Iowa, at Rutgers. I mean, especially with the way we were talking about those teams, Andy, you got some tough sledding in this schedule.
Do you feel like, does the DeShaun Foster situation feel like Zach Arnett at Mississippi State last year?
Yeah, a
where
little
it's
bit.
Kind of like a long-term interim, like a tryout situation.
Yeah. And, you bring in somebody in that the players can rally around, right? Because, like, Foster's a former player at UCLA.
Yep.
It's someone the guys can believe in, but he's inheriting a brutal scenario on the defensive side for sure. I mean, I have their best case scenario being 6-6, maybe 7-5. If
I've got
able to get the offense
6-6
rolling.
for the ceiling and 3-7 for the floor.
Yeah, I do too. I think they only win 3 games on offense. I think, or excuse me, 3 games in the worst case scenario. You beat Hawaii, you beat Indiana at home,
maybe
you take Fresno State. Yeah, right. I mean, I just, the defense, even if Bieniemy's able to get the offense rolling and the defense can just bend but not break, I still think they lose 4 of their 6 road games and then drop another at home to Oregon or USC. It's a tough draw on a new head coach for sure.
Yeah. And now I will say this about DeShaun Foster that does bode well for him going forward. If he can make it through this year, they are really embracing high school recruiting. Like, they, in a way that Chip Kelly obviously never did.
Right.
It's very similar to what Jim Mora was doing at UCLA, and Jim Mora got dudes there. Like, it is possible to get dudes at UCLA. And I think that's DeShaun Foster's plan ultimately, is just upgrade the talent on that roster seriously and then work from there.
Right. And if you can do it in the trenches, especially with the way the portal's going and NIL and all that, if you can find big bodies up front and hit on enough big bodies, you're always going to find skill guys. In California, you're always going to find skill guys.
Yeah.
It's about finding the big boys. If you can find those, you're in business.
All right. good luck to UCLA. This is again, like we said, tough draw first year in the conference. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.